Award-winning futurist researcher, keynote speaker Nikolas Badminton joins us on Canada Now. And Nick, this week we look at smart prisons and how artificial intelligence could play a role.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not in the way that maybe people think. Now, we're actually seeing a world with over 223 prison systems in independent countries, dependent territories around the world. That's 11 million people under lockdown in penal institutions. They're held either as pretrial detainees or remand prisoners, or they've been convicted and sentenced. And it's really interesting. We're seeing that 50% of those people are in the US, China, Brazil, Russia, and India. But something really interesting is happening over in Finland.
Yeah, because decades ago, researchers across the Nordic countries looked into how much punishment helped in reducing crime and found that it really had minimal effect. Finland used to have one of the highest rates of imprisonment in Europe. Then they dramatically scaled back on imprisonment, and they found that crime didn't increase. They went with an open prison system instead.
Yeah, absolutely. So they practice active decarceration. So this is a mass reconfiguration of their policies and experiments over the years. I think they've been started with this program about 70 years ago to rethink what a truly human and humane prison system could look like. And what they've done is they've developed this idea of an open prison model so that low-risk offenders can go straight into an open prison. And by open prison, we're talking about a place that's as open as being able to drive there and be a day-release prisoner to having quite a lot of privileges. And if you're a high-risk offender, you may go to a closed prison system, something that's a little bit more normal from what we understand as prisons. But those prisoners are evaluated. Their problems, whether it's a criminal mindset, aggressive behavior, addiction, or whatever, is actually reviewed, and there's a strategy put in place. And part of that strategy is to, after a period of time of rehabilitation, that they can get to this open prison as well. So instead of locking someone away for doing something bad and just saying, well, there you go, you deserve that, and then they're surrounded by people of a similar ilk, whether you're a low-risk or a high-risk offender, and all of them in that soup become sort of radicalized towards a criminal lifestyle in a way in certain cases. People have actually got a path to not going back to prison afterwards. And in Finland, they found that reoffending rates, recidivism, actually dropped to like 20%. It's one of the lowest in the world. And it's super interesting to see that this view of education and prisoners learn artificial intelligence and technologies, things that are out there in the real world that can give them a real living, can actually help people liberate themselves from that criminal mindset and that criminal lifestyle.
So is that where AI plays a role, at least in part here, with Finland in investing in tech training for inmates?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're gonna the world that I see of artificial intelligence, it isn't complete, robotic overlords. It's human and the machine. We're going to work with these systems. They're going to have to be trained. There's going to have to be a symbiotic relationship between us and the machines and the machine learning that's going to go behind the data that they produce. So, yeah, that's the relationship. And it's really interesting to me that you can start to learn about these prisoners and you can start to re-educate them. And you can really build a deeper, more empathetic relationship with them. I mean, it creates value for them, and it creates the ability for them to value themselves and see themselves in a useful role in the world outside of the prison system that they're in.
And inmates in Finland can choose one of 11 open prisons to stay in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, this isn't like going to Airbnb and choosing something that's more luxuriant and whatever. It might be based on your location in relation to your family and whatever. It's really important for prisoners to stay connected to their families so they're reminded what they have to go back to, and those people can be connected. There's actually a fascinating application down in the States called Pigeonly, and it was started by an ex-inmate. And Pigeonly allows people that have got friends and family members within the prison system to be connected to them. They can have photos and they can have letters sent to them more easily using technology. I mean, that attack on recidivism is going to be so important going forward, Because if we take those 11 million people that we know that are under lockdown around the world, we know that each of those people are touching multiple more people that touch multiple other people. And you can actually have a really big problem in the next sort of 5, 10, 20 years if we don't start to have a deeper, more empathetic, education-based open prison system.
Okay, let's speak the universal language here. Open prisons are costing Finland 30% less than conventional prisons. Is that what's going to be what's going to turn the tide as far as the prison system is concerned in other countries?
You know what? It's really interesting. You know, the prison system down in places like the U.S., a lot of it is private. A lot of it makes lots of money. And what are people in those systems do? They double down. They work out how they can grow their business, how they can make 5, 10, 20, even 30% more revenue year on year, and that means more prisoners. So we have to have a wholesale rethinking about the model of managing the prison systems. I actually think that it should be managed and maintained by the government, but by people in the government that really know what they're doing and that are given license to focus on, you know, decarceration within the system. And I think that is going to pay dividends for any country that steps forward like Finland has.
Is anyone in Canada, as far as you know, Nick, looking into this?
I haven't come across any particular prison system. So, I mean, there's always a lot of studies at universities and psychologists, and and that's what the Finnish system's done. It's employed psychologists to really understand the prisoner mindset, but also the way that prisons work and their effect on prisoners. So I haven't come across specific prisons within Canada. I do know that places like Australia and other places in Europe are playing with this model and starting to see what an open prison model can deliver to reduce that reoffending rate and to really start to get these people back out into society.
Okay, have we just scratched the surface as far as Finland is concerned? Like, how much should Finland actually be the blueprint into how countries operate? And I ask because Finland has been rated the happiest in the world for 3 consecutive years, and their citizens enjoy universal health care and subsidized daycare, free college tuition. Should we all be taking note of what Finland is doing, generally speaking?
I think that whenever a country is doing really well and of a smaller scale, right? So somewhere like Finland's a lot smaller than, say, Canada or even looking down to the US and other countries across Europe, we can take lessons from them. These are what I call greenhouse countries. So you can grow an idea and you can prove it out. And once that idea is proven, quickly, oftentimes, you can take that into a wider application. It's why places like New Zealand have been used by the banking system to trial everything from like chip and pin to e-transfer and whatever. A smaller population, less of an impact if something goes wrong, and more cultural uptake of new technologies, new ways of working. I think that we've got a huge opportunity to learn from anyone that's experimenting out there in the world, and I sort of encourage people as I speak to them in organizations rethink what they're doing, especially at times like these. It's like, have an idea, try it out, see if it works. If it does, then roll it out. If it doesn't work, throw it away, take the lessons and try something new.
Check out NikolasBadminton.com, futurist, researcher, keynote speaker Nick Badminton. Nick, always a pleasure, my friend. We'll do it again in a week.
I'll speak to you very soon, Jeff. Take care.
All right, thank you.